All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Fathers in Real Estate. Today we are joined by Travis Wilson out of North Carolina. Travis, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today. Travis is a real estate agent with Remax Executive up in Gaston County, and if you're not good with geography, he can fill in exactly what that covers. And he's got two little ones, and we'll just kind of turn it over to you, Travis, and let you kind of tell a little bit about your journey of how you got to where you are in real estate.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you having me as a guest and appreciate what you're doing. I think it's a cool side of it that not a whole lot of people talk about. You always see the real estate agents that are male that talk about the profession and growing the business. And I feel like I've seen some moms in real estate groups, but I haven't seen a whole lot of this where you focus on fathers. So first, I think that's really cool. Man, I'm so fortunate to be where I am because I feel like it's almost unfair. It's a lot of hard work to get here, and it's been a lot of hard work. But my mom is a real estate agent, so that's how I got into the business. She got her license in 2004, I believe, and myself and my sister were still in school at the time. So she got her license, but she kept her full-time job because she didn't want to fully commit. She wanted to make sure kids are taken care of and, graduated out of the house. And then she's been doing it full-time about 10 years now. My dad is actually a residential real estate appraiser, and he's been an appraiser for over 20 years. So he's built up a successful business doing that. So when I say it almost feels unfair to me, I feel like it's just naturally what I was born to be into. And I've had so much help from them, not just day to day now, but even doing the real estate school. When they hit the section about appraisers, I was able to go talk to my dad and get those questions answered. But I've early 20s, I had a million different dreams and tried a lot of different things. And I went to broadcasting school. I wanted to be in radio. I loved the editing side of it. I loved that you could talk and not be seen because I've got a face for radio, I've been told. And then ultimately that got me into sales, and I was selling advertising space, and I did a few different things, ended up at a motorcycle dealership, worked there for 7 years. I was the sales manager, really got to a place where I was just totally comfortable and completely uncomfortable at the same time. I felt like I was doing everything I could, and I would just never be able to break through and get to that next level. I had goals of owning the motorcycle dealership, and I just realized later on that wasn't really the goal that I wanted. I wanted that so that I could have freedom, financial freedom, and freedom to do things with my family and go on vacations. And I just felt like I was hitting my limit there. And then COVID happened. A lot of things changed at the motorcycle dealership. And my mom just kept telling me, hey, you got to get into real estate. And I finally just took the leap, and I got my license March 1st, 2021. So I've been doing it for about a year and 9 months. And it's great. It's a struggle, all the wonderful ups and downs. But I'm just thankful, and I feel very fortunate to be doing what I'm doing and with the people I'm doing. I get to work with my mom every day, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure that's a whole different dynamic than most people do. So is it just you and your mom on the team, or do you guys have anybody else?
It is. For right now, it's just my mom and I, and we did that for a number of different reasons. But my mom had been in real estate before, like I said, and one of the big struggles for real estate agents is that when you do try to go on vacation, you do try to leave for a couple of days, that's when all the work hits. Somebody wants to see a house. Somebody wants to write an offer. And she had the idea that we could be a team together, work on things together, kind of cover each other when we are out of town. And it's worked out really well. So she'll go to the beach for a week, and I can stay here and cover any showings or write offers or appointments, do whatever we have to do. Or, we can go to the beach for a couple of days and she can cover for me. So right now it's just us two. We've kind of explored the option of building and adding more people to the team, but we're both very adamant about making sure our customers are taken care of. And I think that's one of the big struggles with real estate agents. It's hard to let go of some of that control and sort of delegate tasks to a transaction coordinator or to an assistant or another agent on your team. So who knows where the future is? I think we will grow the team, but for right now, it's just us. And she's the team lead, basically. So what she says goes, and it's fun because we're both very opinionated, and sometimes we strongly agree, sometimes we strongly disagree, and I think that helps our clients too because we kind of go back and forth looking at it different angles, and then we're able to present something to the client that we both feel is best. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a whole different dynamic. And yeah, I guess mom knows best, so she's still got the reins there and trying to keep you in check a little
Yeah.
bit there.
She
Um,
knows, man. She's such a good agent, and I tell people this all the time. But she will spot something. She'll think of something that just wasn't even on my radar, and she really does a great job. I've learned a lot from her, and I have to remember sometimes, no matter how right I think I am, it's like, okay, she's done this longer than me. She's built a successful business. I better just shut up and listen to what she has to say.
sometimes that's kind of tough, right? Especially with
Yeah,
that dynamic. So with building the business and everything, it sounds like it's that relationship. You guys strive for that relationship, that referral business. Is that what you guys build on and
for
how you build
sure.
the business?
Yeah, and I think you have to have that long term success. You know, you can spend a lot of money and get a great headshot and look as professional as can be and put yourself on a magazine and whatever you want to do, and you might get that client. But if they're not happy, if they don't see you working for them and their best interest and giving it everything, they're not going to become a repeat customer. They're not going to refer their friends. It's for us, it's all about building that relationship. I use the example if it's 30 degrees outside and your heat goes out and you call an HVAC guy and they come out there quickly and they fix it and they're reasonably priced, you they don't really have to worry about advertising as much because you're going to tell other people, you're going to call them again. And that's us. We don't want anybody to have any buyer's remorse. We don't want them to feel like they were pushed into anything or rushed or uneducated or had to make a decision they weren't fully informed on. So that's it. And from me being in sales and at the motorcycle dealership or even in radio, it's just all a people business. You've got to connect with people, and you've heard it a million times. People don't care how much they know until they know how much you care, and you got to show people that. So we really do pride ourselves on taking time to get to know the clients, find out their goals, their best interests, and then put together a plan that will help them achieve what they want.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's crucial in developing the business, especially as markets shift one way or the other. We've pretty much been licensed about the same amount of time. I've
Oh
got
wow.
I think I've got 3 months on you.
Okay.
So definitely building businesses that way, and I think that's kind of why we've connected with even just posting back and forth on Instagram and everything. You find those people who have kind of built the same thing and had those same ideas there.
I love your social media too because I'm sure you follow a lot of agents like I do, and you see the same stuff over and over, or they always have to be so professional, or they never show the downfall. It's all the highlights. And I love that, if you have a home that's under contract and the deal blows up at the closing table, you'll get on there and say, hey, this one didn't work out and we're going to get back on it and make it happen. And I think in a world of social media where there's so much fake out there, people appreciate the real aspect of it. So when I got on Instagram, you were one of the earlier agents that I started following, or one of the first, I guess. And I've been following you for a while, and it's been really cool to see you grow and see you step outside of your comfort zone and do things. And I'm sure you've seen me kind of step out of my comfort zone and do things. And it's just fun to have those people like yourself that we can support each other. We're different brokerages, different markets. But when I see you close a home, I get excited for you because I want to see us all win and support each other. And for me, it's not really a competition with anybody else. And it sounds so cliche, but I'm in competition with myself. And when I see where I was a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, sometimes I have to stop and remind myself, hey, this where I am now is what I dreamed about 3 years ago. So I know I'm disappointed now at this event that's happened, but we've really came a long way. So I just think it's cool.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. Same with you, man. And we were going to talk about that too. Is I love what you're doing with Instagram, watching you grow, and like you're saying, I mean, you're one of the first few that I've followed, and one that I interact with. Try to do it daily,
Yeah.
Just because I mean the dad jokes, the dad stuff. I mean that it just kills me. So we will give a shout out with where people can find you on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they're following you because it is awesome. And just like you say, and just bringing a whole different side to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you've gotten into real estate, how was it coming from a salaried position to where it's all commission based? Like what was going through your mind when you made that jump?
It wasn't as big of a leap as it would be for most people, because when I worked in radio in my early 20s and I was doing the advertising sales, that was just commission based. If I didn't sell, I didn't make money. But even at that time, I would run the board for like Charlotte Checkers games, our Charlotte hockey here, and do different things where I could get some kind of income steady coming in. And then when I went to the motorcycle dealership, that started out as just commission. And then when I became a sales manager, I had my base plus commission, but it was very heavily determined by my commission. But I at least had something coming in. So for real estate, the commission part of it wasn't as scary, but not having anything come in was scary. And when I started, I was actually working part-time at a restaurant in Belmont, which is close to me. And that was a whole experience in itself, but I needed something just to have some money come in. And if I could go in on a Sunday and make $130, I would spend the whole day there just to make that, just to have some money to pay bills and gas that week. So it was tough. And honestly, I still struggle with it. I'm bad about get a so-called good commission check, and it's like, oh man, I really need to paint this room, or we need to do these floors or something, and you do it, and then that deal that you thought was a sure thing falls apart, and now you don't have a check coming in, and you're like, okay, I can't take the paint off the walls, I can't rip the floors up. So I still struggle sometimes with just managing the financial side of it, because with real estate, you do not know when that next check is coming in. And even if you're at the closing table and you've already posted on Instagram the picture of the attorney's door and you're like, closing time, not necessarily. We've seen things fall apart at the closing table. So it's an adjustment. And I think as you get more business and you have more balls in there, so to speak, if one falls, you drop one, it's okay because you've got other things going on. But even now, it's been a challenge. In some ways, I feel like I'm starting over completely. It's a different market. Things are changing rapidly, and we don't exactly know what next year is going to look like.
Right.
So it's a constant adjustment. You have to be able to kind of adjust on the fly and make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like you're saying, it's always nice to have some things lined up, and never start playing closing time too early on Instagram until that ink dries. So
no
100%.
No kidding.
So looking here, you guys, you said you've done about 5 million in sales in 2022. So coming in with that team environment, growing that business, what is one thing you would tell somebody that's looking into getting into real estate and growing that business? What is one thing that you wish you would have known before you would have kind of gotten into real estate?
I think that's a tough question for me, because it's nothing that I didn't know, or at least I didn't hear it, but you don't fully appreciate it until you get into real estate. I would see my mom, at a dinner. We're out at Longhorn Steakhouse with the family for somebody's birthday, and she's pulling her laptop out and submitting an offer. And I'm like, that's crazy. And then even I thought, okay, yeah, she has to do that. She's inconvenienced now, but she's got all this other free time. And she would tell me, no, it's 24/7, constantly something going on, something you could always be doing. Even if you don't have something going on right this second, you could be in your CRM and you could be coming up with, your next campaign, or even coming up with social media content, or going and figuring out a pop buy. So I knew that it was a lot of effort and work, but I don't think I fully appreciated that. For somebody coming in new to the business, I would say you really have to be prepared to work very hard. Sometimes it's very inconvenient and you may miss fun things and important things, but overall, when I have to miss a dinner one night because I'm writing an offer, I remember that it balances out the next week when it's a Tuesday at 2 p.m. and me and my 4-year-old are bowling at the bowling alley. You know what I mean? While somebody else is at work. But it's just a crazy schedule and you got to be willing to put the work in. And also I would say financially prepare. I didn't fully think about it. Even though people told me it's expensive to get started, it really is. So like I said, I worked a part-time job at a restaurant. I had my full-time job at the motorcycle dealership. I was doing real estate school at night, trying to do everything I could to prepare. And then when I finally got my license, it was 5 months before I got a paycheck. So I thought I was prepared, but I really wasn't. And, just the class and taking the test and paying for a background check. And then you've got to buy your lock boxes and your signs and your business cards and your shirts and your magnets and everything. And I've had people tell me like, well, doesn't Remax pay for all of that for you? Doesn't your brokerage pay for all that for you? No, not. They'll provide you some things, but it's really up to you to do what you want with it. And I feel like I've already given a way long answer to this, but if you're new to the business, when I started my social stuff, I was already like a year into it when I started doing Instagram and TikTok. And I started by trying to come across as the professional. I've got all the answers. I can help you with anything. And it goes back to people appreciating you being real. If I could start again, I would start all my social stuff and say, hey, I just passed my test. This is day one. Come on this journey with me. Let me show you the struggles. And I would really give somebody a look at it. And I think you could build a better following that way. It's hard to get on social media sometimes. And you see the agents that have 50,000 followers and they're giving all this great advice and people know if you're being fake. I didn't think about it this way, but when I just got my license, I'd posted a video like 3 tips for buyers. And looking back at it now, I'm like, how the crap do you know tips for buyers? Like you've never sold anybody. And people sense that. You got to be real with people and they appreciate it, I think. So be financially prepared, know it's a lot of work, and be real and just start promoting yourself. And people will be drawn to that. The right people will, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Shameless self-promotion is huge. And, it's hard to show the negative and the not positive because, everybody's positive, but it's like you're saying, you got to show both sides of the coin there. Cause that's really how you attract those people. So, that's great advice for people. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. Going into real estate, you're like, well, you just got a $10,000 commission check. So you're rolling in it. Doesn't count for the brokerage splits, the taxes, right, the marketing, everything else you put into it. And then you've got that much left over to hopefully pay for the floors that you put in. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it's just, okay, now I got to pay these credit cards off because I didn't have a check for 2 months. So,
or you're just the gatekeeper and it goes right into the wife and kids and you don't really see it. You're kind of that pass through window. So I think that's great advice for anybody looking to get into the business and everything. What would you say, kind of switching gears there, what would you say is one of your biggest failures, and kind of what did you learn from that? And that could be real estate or anything in life at this point.
Yeah, I guess I'll say real estate related because it's most recent. After I'd been in the business for 7 or 8 months, everything I had learned was from my mom. So how to do a listing presentation, how to work with a buyer, how to put stuff in MLS, what photographer to use. Everything was my mom. And I wanted to kind of get an idea of what other agents did. So I paired up with a couple other different agents, just said, hey, let me help you any way you can. And I had what I thought was an amazing opportunity. I spent about 3 months, almost a year ago, working with this particular agent. And at the end, after all the work was done, there was some disagreements and I didn't get what I was promised and told. I didn't have anything in writing. I was told before I ever did this, get it all in writing. And it's been a learning experience, and it was a huge failure for me because, I mean, I'm talking about like thousands and thousands of dollars that I was supposed to get and I didn't, and there wasn't really anything I could do about it. At the time, the only reason I did that, I think, was because I wasn't fully confident in who I was as a real estate agent and myself. And I thought, well, I can sort of ride the coattails of some of these other agents that are doing great and just help and make money, and I'll build my business later down the road. And in hindsight, I wish I would have taken all that time and just focused on myself, the Wilson team, me and my mom, and just build our business. Kind of goes back to what I was saying when I started. Had I started on social media when I first began and gave the whole journey, I think I would have more of a following and be able to connect with people more. But yeah, so be careful with who you work with and get everything in writing, and just have that confidence to be able to promote yourself. And, you don't have to be perfect. Again, give the client the best you can. And every deal I do, I learn new things. I've got one deal that I can remember that I sort of became an expert on septic tanks. And then another one, I had to dive into underground storage tanks for a week and learn everything I could about that. And, as you do it more, you build that confidence, and you know these things to look for. And you got to have confidence in yourself and promote your business. And like you said, in some ways it's hard. It's hard for me to get on any platform and say, hey, call me and use me. But you got to a little bit. You got to stay top of mind for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Never stop learning. And, with real estate, you're going to learn something every transaction, no matter how smooth it is. There's always going to be something that comes up. And just making sure, like you say, if you're faced with those obstacles, just jumping in, learning, and getting through it. And now you're the expert. And unfortunately, septic tanks, I'm sure that story is probably pretty interesting there. But septic tanks are always something, right?
There's so many stories that I wish I could share on social media. We share things, and there's ridiculous things we see and funny things, but if agents could really get on there and tell the full story of things, sometimes I think people would be surprised to realize what we deal with and what it takes sometimes to get some of these deals done, and how much you're actually working for your clients. Everybody sees the sold picture at the end, with the clients and under contract. And it's just, man, there's so much that goes behind that.
Absolutely. Hey, there's your podcast idea right there, man. Running those untold stories of real estate or something with that, man. That's gold right there.
The other thing, when I first started and you have so few clients on social media, you can't really say a whole lot about a particular situation, because somebody could figure out, okay, he's had 6 clients. Who's he talking about? And I grew up in, Belmont was a small town when I was a kid. It has absolutely just exploded with growth now. But there's still a lot of people that know each other, and you kind of know everybody and know everybody's business. And, you got to be careful what you can share, but some good stories for sure. I'm sure you've got plenty of, good stories.
Yeah, early on, you can definitely trace back to those clients, and people can figure out with these being from small towns. So yeah, we definitely have to keep an eye on that. So I thank you for sharing that. And I think that's something we all struggle with as newer agents, and looking at that with how you've built your business, being on the team with your mom. Family is number one and key there for you. How do you balance those responsibilities of being in business, the entrepreneur, and family? How do you do that?
I had to learn that it's okay to not respond right away to a client's text every single time. And in no way am I saying ignore your clients or, make them wait longer than they should. But I've just learned that sometimes a client asks you a question or asks about a situation, and you want to be readily available for them and show them you're working for them. But sometimes that first response you give is not the best response, because you're not in the right frame of mind. And I've learned that if I am bowling with my 4-year-old on a Tuesday at 2:00 and a client asks me a question, if it's not something that absolutely has to be answered, then I'll set a reminder, and we get done bowling 30, 40 minutes later, I'll give them a call at that point. So small things like that. I gave the example of my mom being at Longhorn and like writing an offer. Unfortunately, there's just some times where you feel like you have to do that, but I really try to make my time with my kids and my wife separate from the work. Or even if I have to work, at this point, I would almost rather say like, hey guys, hang on a second, I'm going to go work, and I'll go work for 30 minutes, do what I need to do, and then come back to be with the family, as opposed to just bringing the laptop out right there, because I don't want my kids growing up thinking that that's all I ever do is sitting on the laptop or on the phone. But yeah, just the realizing my previous job, I had a boss that always said, be where your feet are. You know, if you're at work, be fully focused on work. If you're with family, be with family, be fully focused on family. And that it's a hard balance with real estate, but you have to realize everything is not, this 10 alarm emergency that has to be done right away. Some of it is, sometimes it is, but you got to carve out time for yourself and your family, or you will go absolutely crazy if you don't. Sometimes I'll be doing something with my family and it's just like, oh man, this is the real world. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You kind of get so caught up in the social stuff and the work. It's like, okay, this is what it's really all about. This is why I'm doing all the work. And you got to do that for them and make the time for them and for yourself.
Absolutely. And speaking of, having time for yourself, how do you make time for yourself? Because you're going 120 miles per hour here with the work. Then as soon as you make that time for the family, the two little ones, they're wanting your attention. The wife is there too. So how do you make that time for yourself? What does that look like?
Well, at the time of this recording in December, what is this, early December? Yeah. It's been a little bit easier lately just because the market in our area has slowed down quite a bit. I keep hearing people say like, oh, it's a buyer's market. In our area, there's areas where it sort of is and there's areas where it's not. There's parts of Charlotte, North Carolina, 15 minutes away from me where they're still getting multiple offers over ask price under contract within a day. So you kind of have to know those areas. But for me, it's slowed down and I've been able to spend more time with the family, which has been really nice. When it is busier, I'm a night owl. I hate it, but I will stay up till 2 or 3 a.m. some nights. And for me, that's my time. That's when the kids have gone to sleep, the wife's asleep, and I can just relax. And it sounds probably stupid to most people, but one of the ways I relax is I have the Duolingo Spanish app, or the language learning app, and I've been learning Spanish for about 2 years now. I love it. I want to incorporate it into my business at some point. It's taken me a long time because, so many days I'll get 5 minutes on the app and that's it. But for me, it's the nighttime, early morning hours that you just get to yourself and you can think about business ideas and goals and just things that need to be done around the house. I've got a big Bradford pear tree that I need to trim back, and I've been trying to find time to do that. But it's nice to have those moments of peace and quiet where you can focus on yourself and just relax a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's key. I mean, especially, like you're saying, this time of year with everything else going on that you've got on your plate that might not be business related, but, it's so easy to look past taking time for yourself. I think that's one thing that a lot of guys and moms, on both sides struggling is not feeling guilty when you take that time too.
Right.
That's another big thing that's been brought up. So,
I struggle with that guilt because, like you said, there's always something that can be done. And when you're not doing anything, it feels like you're being lazy, and you do get that guilt, but you have to remember that you being burnt out is no good for your family or your business. And you have to have those moments to be able to sort of recoup, recharge a little bit, or you're not going to be 100% for anybody. And I try to tell myself that. I love to golf. I've only went golfing twice this year, but I try to go play around the golf every now and then, even though I'm terrible. I like to play guitar, play drums. Don't really do much of that, but it's nice to pick up a guitar and just be able to play a few things for 30 minutes and sit it back down. So
absolutely.
Just some little things. You got to find those little moments every day to make sure you're taking care of yourself and your own mental health.
Absolutely, man. We'll have to go out to the golf course one day. I'm terrible. I hadn't picked it up in about 2 years. So maybe mini golf and work our way up to Top Golf or
Yeah,
somewhere
man.
like that.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we'd be a good grouping there then. So we
yes,
should do that.
definitely some good reels and TikToks on that that series of
No
events there.
doubt.
So with that, kind of finding time for yourself and the struggling with the guilt when you're having some free time potentially there, what is for you? What has been the most challenging part of fatherhood at this point, where you are in with your children's where they are in their age?
It's for me, what's most challenging, and this, I'm sure this is different for so many people, is the things that I do and am interested in and want to spend my free time on are not necessarily the things that my kids are into. So I will beg my 8-year-old, let's go ride your bike. I told him the other day, if you can do one loop around the circle in the neighborhood, I'll give you $50. We can go to Walmart and you can buy whatever you want. And he's got no interest in riding the bike. He wants to be on the iPad and do Minecraft. So, you know, finding ways to, well, where can we connect in the middle? Because my 4-year-old, we're as close as we've ever been. My 8-year-old, we're close, you know, he's my son. I love him. He loves me, but I don't think we connect on like all the same interests. So it's trying to find things that he's interested in that he can do with dad. So I pulled out like the old Nintendo with Super Mario and Kirby and, you know, all the
Nice.
original games, and my boys love it now. So I don't like that we're sitting there playing electronics and not outside doing something, but it's a way I've found that I can sort of connect with them. You know, just stuff like that is challenging because I don't ever want them to grow up and think that I wasn't there as much or didn't do as much with them. And, you know, I tell them every single day, I love you. You boys are the best thing that's ever happened to me. I tell my oldest all the time, you made me a daddy, and that's the best job in the world. But, you know, just finding ways to connect with them and keep their interest and some of those core memories that they'll have later on. I remember as a kid playing basketball with my dad. Like Christmas, I wanted a basketball goal. Got it. We were out there all the time playing horse and making up games and one-on-one. And, you know, those are the memories that you carry with you for your whole life. And I want them to have memories of us doing stuff together. And then as a family, too, my wife and I try to, as much as possible, get out and do something. And if it's going to the park together as a family that's completely free, we want to do that as opposed to just sitting at home so that they can get out and do things and we get time out. But yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I know. And today's world and the ages, I mean, it's always changing. There's always something, and just like you're saying, just making that connection and making sure they have those memories like you did growing up and everything is huge. So kind of going with that, but is there something with, we want to use the word stereotype, but is there a stereotype that you struggle with as being, you know, the male head of household, husband, father, anything? Is there just a stereotype that just you struggle with?
Yes, and I don't think it's from everybody, but it kind of combines work and family. The stereotype that dads are, and I think you see it portrayed on sitcoms and TV commercials, that dads are just the goofy guy, and we show up to work, and then we come home, and we plop on the couch and crack a beer and grab the remote, and you know that I think some people still think of fathers as that, and then the reality I think is that most fathers, they might be sitting on the couch and appear to do nothing, and their mind is just going a million miles an hour. How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to do this? Why? I'm going to miss this thing for my kid. My wife wanted me to do this. I've got this work stuff that I got to do. I had to say no to this person. And it kind of pair that with just the stereotype that real estate agents get, that we just make a ton of money and we go in mansions and, you know, we stick a for sale sign in the yard when really I'm ankle deep in mud in a crawl space under somebody's house trying to find out where this water's leaking from so we can put it on a disclosure and get it fixed. And it's tough for me. My wife stays at home with our boys, and she does a fantastic job. She keeps the whole house together, laundry, dishes, food, everything. She is amazing. I could not do anything without her, and I don't envy her job at all. I think it's a tougher job. I really do, and I tell her
Right.
that all the time. The flip side of that, though, for somebody like me, is that puts all the financial responsibility on me. And if it's just me taking care of me, that's one thing. But when you know you've got your wife counting on you, and you've got these two boys looking up to you, and they're counting on you, it's a lot of stress that I think people just don't realize. So the stereotype of dads just kind of chilling, go with the flow, and whatever. I just don't think that's always the case. I think many dads out there truly just want to be the best they can for their wife, the best they can for their kids, and they're trying really, really hard. That's the thing. I try really hard. I know you try hard. We want to. You want to be, when I think about my parents, I look up to my mom and my dad. They both showed me hard work and manners and how to treat people. And I want my kids to feel that way about me. And I feel like I fail so many times. Just this morning, my 4-year-old was like, "Daddy, you said a bad word." And I'm like, you know what? I did. And I apologize. I should not have done that. And, because they're watching us all the
Oh
time.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, it's a struggle sometimes,
Yeah, and I think that's a huge one that a lot of people don't talk about. It's just we're supposed to keep everything inside, and we're just supposed to make it happen. Even like you're saying, we're sitting on the couch, but man, we're 3 weeks into figuring out financials and everything else. So it's not like there's not anything going on, but it may look that way to some people. So I think that's huge. I think a lot of people have issues with that.
And
so
at a certain point, you almost feel like, I don't know if you ever feel this, but as a man, you feel like you kind of have to be that stronghold for the family. You got to be the leader or the strength and show that you're doing everything you can. So sometimes you don't want to tell your wife or other people when you're struggling with things. If it's something mentally you're struggling with, if you feel kind of down or depressed that day, or you're having anxiety about something, sometimes I don't want to share those things because I don't want her to stress out either, and it's why you need stuff like this, where I can talk to people and have friends and people in the real estate community that support you and help you, and they get it. They understand the lifestyle and what it takes. So, yeah, I feel like every question I've answered, I end with, yeah, it's a struggle, but
well,
a lot of it is.
Yeah, and that's why we started this. That's why we're doing this, as a way to connect and be that outlet, and like you're saying, make those connections to have that voice, so you don't burden your family with it. It's hey man, I'm struggling with this, and you other guys feeling this way. So no, you can end it with struggle. Any answer, you can do that.
Riding the struggle bus.
We all got a seat on there somewhere, man. Now you mentioned your parents, looking up to them with everything. What's another, or who's the top person that you kind of look up to, that's influenced kind of how you do things and everything in life?
Oh gosh. It's so tough for me because I feel like there's so many different people, and my parents, it's hard for me to just brush over and say, like, of course my parents, because I remember as a kid being in this little small duplex where me and my sister shared a room. We had a bunk bed, and my parents were working, building their goals. And it's funny to look back now as an adult and see the things that they were doing. My dad would work at Duke Energy full-time job, and then he was working a job at night and getting his license to be able to be an appraiser. And I remember a lot of times my mom being gone for like a work trip or coming home late because of work. And I just realized, looking back, they put in all this work and effort, and to see them now, they're not like in a $8 million mansion out on the coast somewhere, but they don't have to worry about the financial side of things. They have worked very hard and built their business and showed me that work ethic and what it takes. And even now, I'll see times where my mom is outworking me on something, and I'm like, man, she is relentless. But that's what they've done. So they're just huge inspiration and people I look up to. And even my grandparents, my grandfather on my mom's side, we had a yard sale at their house one time, and my mom had thrown away a old pair of shoes. He pulled them out of the trash and got $2 for it. And that's the kind of person he was. He was very much like, we're not wasting anything. You know, he would eat an apple and there would be just a stem and like 2 seeds left. That's the kind of person he was. So I really look up to him. And there's so many other agents in this business that I look up to. And it doesn't have to be this famous agent that does all this profound stuff. It's the agent in my office that when I was new invited me to an open house because there were 2 homes on the property. And it was like a 4-hour open house because they had tenants and this was the one time they could be out. And he didn't want, he wanted another agent there to be in the other house if he had multiple people. Nobody really showed up. Doing the open house like that, it's an opportunity for a new agent to maybe pick up some buyers. Nobody showed up. And he wrote me a check for $100 just for coming out there.
That's awesome.
And it sounds so insignificant, but to a brand new agent that was struggling, and I've just taken my whole day basically to prepare and do this open house for 4 hours just for the opportunity to get a buyer, and that didn't come through, and he helped me out. Those are the things that I remember. And now when I can help that agent out, I'll help him anytime I can. It's people like that. It's people like yourself on social media when I just see other people doing it, and I know I'm not alone in this. And sometimes you'll have times where you think, man, nobody's even paying attention to what I'm doing on social media. These last 3 reels bombed, and I'll get a message from you or a message from a friend that I hadn't talked to in a while. Hey, love the social media content. Keep it coming. And it just motivates you. I feel bad because there's not really like one set person that I look up to that's encouraged me. There's just been so many people in my life that have helped me and showed me the way things should be done. And I just feel fortunate to know those people and have them in my life.
Absolutely, man. Good answer, man. Good answer. Yeah. So talking about inspiration, is there anything that you've read recently or listened to that's kind of inspired you, or have you had time to do any of that?
I'm not a very strong reader. That is one of my weaknesses. I have a hard time picking up a book and sitting down to read it. I'm very much inspired by little short reels and, a YouTube podcast I'll listen to. And it's, again, just kind of a number of different things and people. I hate to use some of these big names, but I'm going to use it anyway. Gary V, you hear about him all the time. I'm not like a Gary V homer and just love everything he does. I haven't bought the V Friend stuff, but with him, just that constant message of gratitude and being aware of being in the moment and being patient, and everything doesn't have to happen right now and you've got time. That's a big inspiration because you hear that over and over and you start to realize, wow, so many millions of people on the earth don't even have access to clean drinking water. And I'm complaining because my Wi-Fi went out for 5 minutes. Just kind of puts things into perspective. And I'm one of these types that I see the videos on Facebook or Instagram of a soldier coming home or like these kids being reunited, and I'm bawling my eyes out. My wife's coming in there and she's like, what is wrong with you? I thought you were writing an offer doing something. I'm like, I was, but then I saw this video and I'm crying. And but I feel like I'm just very aware that, man, we're so fortunate and we're blessed, and you can't take that for granted because you never know what's going to happen, how much time you have. And just keeping that in perspective is huge for me. I have to constantly remind myself, be thankful. When I get anxious, when I get down, I just start listing things I'm thankful for. And it's amazing how quickly that'll put it into perspective and sort of change your mindset.
No, yeah, that's huge. That's an awesome answer. Yeah, I'm a sucker for any of those videos as well, man. So I'm right there with you. So we're going to kind of wrap up a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be conscious of your time and respectful of that. We've covered a lot of ground here today. So is there anything else that you have on your mind that you think would benefit our listeners, as far as, anything in the real estate world or anything as far as fatherhood that we didn't cover that you'd like to share with everybody listening?
Yeah, maybe. And it sort of ties into the last question, what's inspired me. I saw a reel recently and they were saying, you tell your kids, you can do anything. Believe in yourself. You can do anything. And it said at a certain point, your kids are going to grow up and they're going to realize things, and they'll look at you and say, well, why didn't you do it then? If you can be anything and you can, believe in yourself, you can do anything you want. Why didn't you do it, Dad? And man, that's a scary thought to me, because I want my boys to know anything you put your mind to, you can do it. And people tell you no, and they don't think there's a way. No, if you believe in it, you can make a way and make it happen. But then it's a reality check for me. Am I believing in myself? Am I doing the things I need to? Because I'm my biggest critic. And, oh gosh, I can't think of the term they call it, the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I get that all the time. I had it like an hour before this. I was thinking, why in the world does Bryce even want to talk to me? I'm nothing. I'm a nobody. Like, why do I even have the privilege of coming on and talking with you? And, man, that's hard. So I have to just constantly remind myself, no, you're doing your best. You're trying. You're making progress. You're doing better than it feels sometimes in the day to day. You got to stop, like I said earlier, and look back and see the progress you've made. But yeah, you got to be accountable to yourself, because at a certain point, your kids are going to get old enough and they're going to keep you accountable. And I don't want to be the parent that, I'm having to rely on my kids to help me later on because I just screwed up and didn't do the things I needed to prepare.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, like I said, I appreciate everything you've shared with us, your story, your insights and everything. And hopefully you're a little bit less anxious than earlier. So where can people find you online? And the biggest one that people need to make sure they follow you is Instagram. So we need to make sure we get that out there for everybody.
Instagram is my favorite platform, just because I love that you can do a post, or you can do the reel, or you can do a story. And I love that aspect of it. They make me mad a lot of times, as I'm sure you've experienced. Anybody trying to grow on social media, it'll make you mad. Why did this video get 49,000 views and then my next one got 200 views and my next one was a better video? Why are these other agents doing videos that I don't think are as great, and they've got all these followers, and it's a love-hate relationship. But I really do like Instagram, and my handle, or is that what the young folks
think that's
call
what
it now?
I think what the kids call it these days. I'm not sure, man.
Yeah, it's at Real Estate Travis, but it's real_estate_Travis. And that's the same for TikTok as well. On Facebook, which I don't do as much on, it's just Travis Wilson Realtor, and you'll see my cheesy headshot where I'm in my gray suit jacket. And I didn't even know at that time for sure that I was going to be with Remax, so I wore a tie, and it's like blue and pink and these different colors. And I need to do a new headshot soon. I'm going to be that agent that's like 85, and I've got my headshot from when I was 30. So
heck yeah, man. Yeah, there's no point in changing them, man. So yeah. So yeah, everybody get out there, follow you guys. If you're seeing this online and everything, those handles and everything will be tagged here. Mm-hmm. So Travis, I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for joining us on this, and keep crushing it in 2022, and can't wait to see what 2023 brings for us. So I appreciate it, man, and look forward to let's do some golfing and a lunch here soon coming up.
Yeah, we got to meet up and get us a big, tall, sweet tea, and go out to the driving range or go to the golf course and have some fun. But, man, I appreciate it. Again, I love what you're doing. I think this side of looking at fathers in real estate is just a unique angle that you don't see a whole lot of, and I think it's awesome. I cannot wait to see some of the other guests that you have and see how this continues to grow, just like the rest of your business has. So congrats to you, man. This is awesome.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.